Take a moment and think about money, not the amount, not the number in your account. Think about what money is supposed to represent. For most of human history, money had a very clear purpose. It represented value, it stored effort, and it carried time forward. You worked, you earned, you saved, and saving meant something. Money was not just a medium of exchange, it was a promise that your effort today would still matter tomorrow. That promise is broken. Not in a dramatic way, not with a collapse or a crash, but slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Money still exists. You still earn it. You still spend it. But it no longer does what money was designed to do. It no longer protects value. It no longer preserves effort. And it no longer represents time. Today, money has a name, but it has lost its meaning. This is why saving feels pointless, why earning more doesn't feel like progress, why stability feels temporary. People are told this is inflation, that prices are rising, that this is a temporary phase. But inflation is not the core issue. It is the surface symptom of a deeper transformation. A transformation in what money actually is. Because when money stops representing value, everything measured in money begins to feel unstable. Wages lose meaning, prices lose reference, and effort loses direction. This video is about that shift, when it happened, why it happened, and what replaced real value with something far more fragile. To understand why money now has a name but no meaning, we need to go back to the moment that promise began to fade. There was a time when money actually meant something. Not because it was perfect, but because it was limited. Money once represented real effort, real work, real scarcity. If you saved, you were storing something tangible. Gold didn't grow on trees. Silver had to be mined. Land couldn't be duplicated. Value was anchored to reality. This created a natural balance. Work had meaning, because effort translated into lasting value. Saving made sense, because time did not erase purchasing power. The future felt connected to the present. Money wasn't just a tool for spending. It was a record, a memory, a claim on real resources. This didn't mean life was easy, but it was predictable. When you worked harder, you expected progress. When you delayed gratification, you expected reward. This expectation shaped behavior. People planned long-term. Businesses invested patiently. Families saved across generations. Money acted as a bridge between effort and future security. But there was a constraint. You couldn't create value just by declaring it. You couldn't print effort. You couldn't fabricate scarcity. This limitation was inconvenient. It slowed growth. It restricted power. And eventually, it was seen as a problem. Because governments wanted flexibility. Wars needed funding. Crises needed response. Growth needed acceleration. The limits that gave money meaning became obstacles to expansion. And slowly, the idea emerged that money didn't need to represent value. It only needed to represent confidence. Trust replaced substance. And that shift changed everything. Because once money stopped being anchored to reality, it became something else entirely. In the next part, we'll look at the exact moment when money stopped representing value and started representing belief. The moment money stopped representing value did not happen overnight. It happened through a quiet shift. One decision, one justification. The world was told this was temporary, that it was necessary, that it would stabilize the system. When money was detached from gold, it didn't become worthless. It became something else. It became a promise that governments would remain disciplined, a promise that debt would stay manageable, a promise that value could be maintained through policy and trust. At first, this seemed reasonable. Economies grew faster. Credit expanded. Crises were delayed. Money became flexible. And flexibility felt like progress. But flexibility came with a cost. When money is no longer limited by reality, it becomes limited only by confidence. As long as people believe, the system works. As long as markets trust, numbers hold. This changed the role of money completely. It stopped being a store of value and became a tool of management. Money was now used to smooth cycles, to stimulate growth, to prevent collapse. Each crisis justified more creation. Each solution required more promises. Over time, the promise replaced the value. Money no longer asked, "What is this worth?" It asked, "Do you still believe?" And belief is fragile. It requires constant reassurance. Stable markets, controlled narratives, carefully managed expectations. This is why money today feels detached from effort. Because it no longer measures work, it measures confidence, and confidence can be engineered. This is the moment money stopped being a reflection of reality and started shaping reality instead. In the next part, we'll look at what money actually does today, now that it no longer needs to hold value. Once money stopped being a store of value, its purpose quietly changed. Money was no longer designed to preserve effort, it was designed to move. Today, money's primary function is not saving, it's circulation. A system built on debt cannot tolerate stillness. If money stops moving, the system begins to fracture. Debt needs cash flow. Governments need spending. Markets need liquidity. This is why saving feels discouraged. Interest rates rarely compensate for loss. Holding cash feels like falling behind. Money today is designed to push you, to spend, to invest, to take risk. Not because risk is healthy, but because motion keeps the system alive. This is also why asset prices rise faster than wages. Assets absorb excess money. Labor does not. Housing, stocks, financial instruments, these become storage units for diluted value. Money doesn't disappear. It relocates, and where it relocates determines who benefits. This creates a quiet divide between those who own assets and those who rely on income. Income is measured in money. Assets are measured in belief. As long as belief holds, asset values rise. And as long as they rise, the system appears stable. This is why volatility is tolerated, but stagnation is feared. A market crash can be managed, a pause cannot. Money today is less about value and more about timing. Being early, being positioned, being inside the flow. This is why effort feels disconnected from reward. Because effort is slow, and money now moves fast. The system no longer asks, "What did you produce?" It asks, "Where were you positioned?" This is what money actually does today, and it leads to a deeply uncomfortable truth. In the next part, we'll confront what it means to live in a world where money is only a name. This is the uncomfortable truth. Money no longer measures value. It labels it. Prices still exist, salaries still exist, accounts still show numbers. But those numbers no longer tell a stable story. In the past, money acted as a ruler. It measured effort, it compared value, it anchored expectations. Today, money is more like a label, a temporary tag placed on things whose value constantly shifts. This is why prices feel arbitrary. Housing costs triple. Assets surge. Wages trail behind. It's not because effort disappeared. It's because the measuring tool broke. When money stops being a reliable measure, comparison loses meaning. Progress becomes unclear. You earn more, but feel poorer. You save, but feel exposed. This creates a psychological strain. People are told they are doing everything right, yet the results don't align. Money still assigns names. Expensive, affordable, successful. But those names change faster than human effort can adapt. This is why long-term planning feels fragile. Retirement feels uncertain. Saving feels risky. Stability feels conditional. Money no longer answers the question, what is this worth? It answers, what does the system need this to be worth right now? And that answer can change quickly. This doesn't mean money is fake. It means money has been repurposed. From a measure of reality to a tool of coordination. It keeps the system moving. But it no longer guarantees fairness. This is why so many people feel disoriented. The rules didn't vanish. They changed silently. In the final part, we'll bring this down to everyday life. What this shift means for work, savings, and the feeling that something fundamental no longer adds up. Living in a world where money has no meaning doesn't feel dramatic. It feels confusing, subtle, draining. People still work, still plan, still follow the rules. But something feels off. Effort no longer maps cleanly to outcome. Hard work doesn't guarantee stability. Discipline doesn't guarantee security. This changes behavior. People shorten their time horizon. Long-term planning feels fragile. Patience feels unrewarded. Saving becomes a question, not a solution. Is it safe? Is it enough? Will it hold? Work changes too. People chase flexibility over loyalty, speed over mastery, access over ownership. The goal quietly shifts, from building something lasting to staying adaptable. This isn't moral failure, it's rational response. When the measuring tool breaks, people stop trusting the measurement. This is why anxiety rises even when employment exists, why growth doesn't feel reassuring, why progress feels reversible. The system still functions, transactions still clear, markets still open. But meaning has thinned. Money coordinates behavior, but it no longer tells a clear story about value, effort, or future security. Understanding this doesn't offer escape, but it does offer clarity. Because confusion is paralyzing, clarity is not. The world didn't lose money. It lost the meaning money once carried. And that quiet shift is reshaping how people work, save, and imagine the future. Welcome to Financial Room,